From the dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries, living many secret lives. No one has ever known we were among you, until now. Dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries, living many secret lives. No one has ever known we were among you.
Until his last breath, he always maintained that we must make sacrifices today for a greater tomorrow.
The beloved disciple is so important that he's mentioned in the very last lines of the Gospel of John. And that's where his death is mentioned. It seems that he was so central to their belief, and they were so sure that he would not die before Jesus came back, that the writer of the Gospel of John had to reassure them that even though he died before the second coming, it wasn't over. In a sense, the beloved disciple lives.
Hello. Most of you, if not all of you, have watched documentaries and movies about the holy blood, the holy lineage, the blood of Jesus and his family lineage. Movies like the Da Vinci Code. It's all about the Jesus bloodline, Michael's bloodline, Dorkirishtil bloodline. And there's a lot more to say about it. I have not made too many videos about it, mentioned here and there. The movie, the Da Vinci Code, also shows many symbols related to the cause and to the bloodline. But people don't know. Only the people that are in the know noticed. For example, this scene that I'm going to show you. Watch.
Cette vache se trompera, non. Cette traque de Robert Langdon, ses neveux, était en fait un guide qui l'a montré aux Égyptiens pour faire la justice. Alors maintenant, est-ce que Langdon...
Bloodline.
You see, he didn't spill soup. He spilled blood. And did you recognize the symbol? Did you recognize the symbol? See, that's a reference in the movie, not to Jesus' bloodline, but to other bloodlines related to him, to Azazel. That's why the symbol is there. Well, today's video is about that bloodline. Something I haven't told you yet, and I was not expecting to tell you ever, but my bosses above decided that this is the time, most likely in preparation for the new group of 72 that will come in the future. Soon, I hope. We'll see. It'll take a few years. Just like the bloodline of Michael, the bloodline of Jesus, has many names which are not known to the public, to you, most people. Also, the other bloodlines, which are related, obviously, of the four brothers, the bloodlines of four brothers, there's many names missing in history. But there are other names that are known, just people don't know about them. No movies were made about it either that mentioned it directly. Many movies have been made which show references, symbols for the people in the know to notice. Today will be about that. This video will be about that. Some names that are missing in history. Enjoy.
Che ignorava la scrittura con la quale tramandare i documenti della propria vita in un tempo in cui Roma aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto. Ignorava la scrittura con la quale tramandare i documenti della propria vita in un tempo in cui Roma aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto. Che ignorava la scrittura con la quale tramandare i documenti della propria vita in un tempo in cui Roma aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto.
There is nothing new in this world, except the history you do not know.
In cui Roma aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto.
His speeches leave Italy bewitched.
There was something almost magical that would suck people into his thinking. He, in effect, kind of hypnotized.
Adolf Hitler looks at Mussolini as someone who is providing a blueprint as to how to destroy the old order.
There is nothing new in this world, except the history you do not know.
Mussolini's evolution begins in 1883 in the village of Prodapio in the Romagna region of northeastern Italy, where he is born into a family fallen on hard times.
The grandfather had to sell the family land.
He knew he was much smarter than anyone else that he met, and yet he wasn't the beneficiary of privileges.
In 1903, he avoids national service by escaping to Switzerland, where he's arrested for advocating a violent revolution. His mother dies shortly afterwards, and he goes completely off the rails.
And for him, this was an extremely dark day, which he would remember for the rest of his life.
When his father remarries, Mussolini takes an unhealthy interest in his new stepsister, 16-year-old Rachele. His father fears Benito will bring shame to the family by starting a relationship, some might think incestuous. However, he will have her, no matter what.
Mussolini said that if this girl cannot be mine, I will shoot myself. And he made the gesture to do just that. The whole thing, though, was just an act. And at that time, he had no intention of killing himself.
In 1910, Benito and Rachele start to live together. But Mussolini is sex mad and soon abandons his stepsister and marries another woman, Ida Dalsa. They have a son together, Benitino, little Benito. It's not long before he grows tired of his new family and leaves them too. At this stage, there is no sign that Mussolini, the violent, womanizing socialist, can turn into one of history's most evil dictators. But cataclysmic world events are about to change everything. 1914, World War I erupts across Europe. At first, Italy stays neutral, but many argue they should fight for a share of the spoils. As an active socialist, Benito Mussolini initially supports his nation's neutrality. By now, he has moved to Milan and found a flair for journalism, stoked by his childhood love of literature. Still in his 20s, he is made editor of Italy's biggest-selling socialist newspaper, Avanti.
Avanti gave him that platform from which he could influence the political direction of the party itself. He was a fierce supporter of revolution in Italy.
But then he starts to think that the war could be the spark to transform the country, even start a revolution. If so, Italy must be part of it. In April 1915, he's arrested for organizing pro-war demonstrations. But the socialists and Avanti don't share his views. He is expelled from the party and resigns from the newspaper. To get back at them, he starts a publication of his own.
He wants a platform for his ideas, and so he gets together money from various sources, and he sets up a newspaper called Il Popolo d'Italia, the People of Italy.
On the 24th of May 1915, Mussolini gets his wish as Italy finally joins the conflict. Having argued so passionately for war, now he can fight in it.
When Italy declares war in the spring of 1915, he volunteers. He gets wounded in an accident with a mortar, and there are photographs of him on crutches. After that, he goes back to his job as a newspaper editor.
While recovering, he writes editorials on his sickbed, and an idea starts to take form.
He began thinking that perhaps the route to a revolution in Italy might be to organize the veterans of the war after they came home. Mussolini referred to them as the aristocracy of the trenches.
Sure enough, when the war ends in 1918, Italy is in a miserable state and ripe for change. Despite being on the winning side, the country has gained almost nothing in the peace settlement. Communists and socialists are causing trouble on Italian streets, calling for a revolution like Russia's. By now, Mussolini has completely turned his back on the left. He wants to forge his own path, one based on the glory of Italy and its Roman past.
Mussolini had become more and more in love with his own country and dreaming about running it and thinking about how he could make it a great power.
He decides to put his ideas into action. He calls for a radical new movement to be formed, one which he will lead by the force of his personality.
Even though he seems to be kind of this warm guy, and people saw him sometimes as almost empathic, it's a veneer, it's a facade. And he knew that that warmth, that he seemed to give off was manipulating in itself.
Mussolini appeals to disillusioned war veterans who share both his anger with the old liberal parliamentary system and his fear of a communist takeover. They believe that extreme nationalism and a one-party state are what will make Italy great again. And they adopt the Roman axe, the fascio, as their symbol. They call themselves fascists. Many of them wear the black shirt of the Arditi, Italy's fearsome commando unit in the war.
The fascist black shirts, the street fighters, believed that political debates, voting, all of the trappings of democracy were either foolish or weak or a fraud. If you wanted something, you took it.
Mussolini becomes their leader, and they call him Il Duce, the boss. Mussolini's fascist movement takes off, going from 20,000 to almost 200,000 members in just a few months. While his thugs battle communists in the streets, Mussolini tries to broaden his power base. The fascist movement becomes the Fascist Party, and in 1921, he is elected to parliament. Campaigning reveals his supreme skill. Throughout his career, with one masterful speech, the Duce can turn crowds into screaming, adoring hordes.
In cui Roma Aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto.
He had the ability to move people, to control their emotions, to get them to listen to him. That he was eloquent and he was persuasive.
Voi mi riudrete a questo stesso balcone.
There was something almost magical that would suck people into his thinking. You had these gigantic crowds shouting, Dulce, 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 because he in effect kind of hypnotized them. Because he in effect kind of hypnotized them.
But rest assured, our mission will continue. There is nothing new in this world, except the history you do not know.
Because he in effect kind of hypnotized them.
In 1922, as Italy descends further into chaos, Mussolini seizes the moment. Through the power of his oratory, he's going to mobilize enough fascists onto the streets to try to force the state to hand him power. Terrified of a revolution, Italy's head of state, King Victor Emmanuel III, calls on Mussolini to lead a new coalition government. Through his ability to stir up the mob, the boss has bluffed and bullied his way to power. He receives a request asking for a signed photograph from an admirer in Germany. Mussolini refuses. He doesn't consider the letter writer important. That will soon change, because the letter is from the man who will devastate both his life and that of his country. Adolf Hitler. Because the letter is from the man who will devastate both his life and that of his country. Adolf Hitler. In 1925, the Duce declares Italy a dictatorship. All political parties are closed down, except for fascists.
ignorava la scrittura con la quale tramandare i documenti della propria vita in un tempo in cui Roma aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto. Ignorava la scrittura con la quale tramandare i documenti della propria vita in un tempo in cui Roma aveva Cesare, Virgilio ed Augusto.
Our mission will continue. There is nothing new in this world, except the history you do not know.
I'm at a place called Vertigo. It's everything I wish I didn't know, except you give me something. I can feel your love teaching me how. I can feel your love teaching me how. I can
When his father remarries, Mussolini takes an unhealthy interest in his new stepsister, 16-year-old Rachele. His father fears Benito will bring shame to the family by starting a relationship some might think incestuous. However, he will have her no matter what.
Mussolini said that if this girl cannot be mine, I will shoot myself. And he made the gesture to do just that. The whole thing, though, was just an act. And at that time, he had no intention of killing himself.
But Mussolini is sex mad and soon abandons his stepsister and marries another woman, Ida Dalsa. They have a son together, Benitino. Little Benito. However, Mussolini's philandering has come back to haunt him. The first wife he abandoned, Ida Dalsa, and their son, little Benito, have been causing him problems. Mussolini subsequently married Rachele, his stepsister, but Ida keeps surfacing, tarnishing his image.
She wanted him all for herself and so caused several scenes with Rachele Mussolini. The Duce found this situation intolerable as it risked putting him in a bad light.
The fascist dictator's ruthless side reveals itself again as he declares Ida to be mad and has her locked up.
He decided that this woman should be completely removed from view and had her put in a psychiatric hospital.
In 1937, Ida Dalsa is allegedly beaten and dies of a brain hemorrhage in the asylum. A few years later, he orders his own son, little Benito, to be murdered by lethal injection. He is just 26.
Buon Natale, Benito dal Ser.
Non mi chiamo Dal Ser, mi chiamo Mussolini. Dal Ser, esci che prendi freddo. Non fare lo shock. Non mi chiamo Dal Ser, mi chiamo Mussolini. Benito, vieni qui.
Fai il bravo.
Benito, ubbidisci, vieni fuori da qui. Benito, ubbidisci. Adesso vieni fuori subito. Come mi chiamo? Come mi chiamo?
Benito ti chiamo.
E dopo? Ho detto basta, vieni fuori di lì.
Adesso
Io mi chiamo Benito Mussolini. Io mi chiamo Benito Mussolini.
So this is my Portuguese birth certificate. I have a Portuguese one and I have an Italian one. This is my Portuguese birth certificate. My mother was Portuguese, my father was Italian, like I've said it a few times. 3 days after I was born, my mother registered me in Tomar, right there. She registered me with the Portuguese name, because that's the name she was told to register me with, and she did. So this was done September the 3rd, 1967. She registered me. Lots of things, different kinds of handwriting, different people write, that the court employee back in the days, this had to be done in the court of law. I don't know about now, but there you go, lots of things here. See, Tumar, it's a legal document here from the court, all the numbers, everything, signatures down there. And it has other witnesses, all kinds of stuff here. So this is this side, okay? That's this side. My birth certificate in Portugal, because 6 days after I was born, this was like 3 days after I was born, 6 days after I was born, my father paid my mother to take me to Italy. So it happened. He paid my mother, and my mother let go. There's a different document that I will show you in the future for that. And it took me, when we got to Italy, he registered me in Bolzano under Italian name, the Italian name that he had chosen for me. And I will show you today the full name. I've shown before, many years ago. I'll show it again today. I have that birth certificate, and I will show it to you in the future, near future. This birth certificate is in Berlin, and I cannot go to Berlin right now, and it's locked up, and nobody can go there to give it to me because of this quarantine and this stupid COVID-19 and all that shit. But I was hoping to have it here for this video, but I cannot, and I have to make the video. But I will show it in the future, in an appendix of this video. I'll show you and explain that Italian birth certificate, where my name, was my father, family name, witnesses. Very interesting, more interesting than this one. But this is just for you to show the connection between my father and myself. Now, on this side here, so this is all the information. On this side here, it's all the information when I was born. But this is going to get more interesting. And this side is called averbamento, which is in Portuguese, it's what you... Averbamento is something, and you write on a legal document after that legal document was done, signed, dated, but for some reason, one or another, later, it might be days, weeks, years, something has to be added to that original legal document, this part. So they write it here. Well, this was back in the days where everything was done with pen and paper and typewriter. Now it's all internet, it's all electronic. I think, I don't know. Anyway, so a verb meant something that was added. As you see, there's 4 different kinds of handwriting. So there was 4 things added to the original Portuguese birth certificate. This one here, see, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. This one here is very interesting. It's the first one. Why? You see here this says that my father is incognito, pai incognito. Means the father is unknown. Why? Because my father didn't register me in Portugal. He didn't want to. He only wanted me to be registered under his name in Italy, not in Portugal. So he didn't show up in court to register me. So they wrote in the court of law, father unknown. So he didn't show up in court to register me. So they wrote in the court of law,
father unknown. Years later, my mother contacted a lawyer. I was living in Italy with my father. Contacted a lawyer, and the lawyer sent him letters and all that. And then my father's lawyer sent letters to my mother's lawyer, and there was back and forth. Of course, the cause knew about this, and my people knew about this, and Templars knew about this, and it was heading to, like a lawsuit. So before that happened, my father came back to Portugal and registered me under his name. But what name? His Portuguese name, not his Italian name. His Portuguese name. Why? Because when I was born, when he made me with my mother, he had been in Portugal for a few years, and so he got a Portuguese citizenship. He never got a Portuguese passport. Never got a Portuguese passport, but he has Portuguese citizenship. So when he got Portuguese citizenship, he changed his name to a Portuguese name. That is important for him. And it's an important part of the story, but that's for another time. Anyway, so he returned to Portugal, and registered me under his Portuguese name. I don't know exactly why. I don't know if he was afraid of a lawsuit, or someone told him, or both, or my mother wanted money for sure. Anyway, so that's the first one. Then number 2, see here, different handwritings, some other employee in the court, Tumar, see, another different employee. And this was from 1984. This is all interesting. It's also about money and other things. So something else happened, and it was added to this, to the document. And second averbamento, a second thing added to the original document. Then this is a third, number 3, different person, signed Manuela Beatriz, Portuguese name. So this is from 1989, and this is when my father returned to Portugal and registered me under his Italian name. And registered me under his Italian name. That was not my mother that asked. The cause and the Templars told him to do it, because my father was like an honorary Templar. No Italian, but that's another story. He was a Templar, which is rare, but it happens from time to time. It happened this time just because of who my father was. Anyway, so they told him. They didn't threaten him with lawsuits or lawyers. They just told him, you're coming, and you're registering your son under your Italian name. So there is January 3rd, 1989, Mr. Benito Albino Mussolini, and he's telling me that I have all the rights to inheritances concerning, among other things, the House of Savoy. That's important. That says here, House of Savoy, and the territory of Monaco. I made a video about this short one years ago. I made 2 or 3. But one day I'll have to make one much more complete. Okay. Now all this, every time one of these averbamentos, something is added, a bunch of documents are added to this original birth certificate. And this is just the front of that, like page number 1, let's say. Sometimes everything changes on the birth certificate. This is like the story of my life, of my legal life, kind of thing. Not a very long one, just the main things, the main plot. So just this one came with about I think it was 60-something pages of legal papers. Because it was my father, there's family, there's documents from different parts of the world, especially Italy and Portugal, but not only. There's documents from the House of Savoy, there's documents from Monaco, and a couple of other European royal families, all with the royal stamp and all kinds of stuff, and lawyers. It's a big volume. So this is what it says, that 1989, January 3, 1989, Benito Albino Mussolini registered me under his name, and I have the right to all the inheritance from the House of Savoy and Monaco and on and on. Then this is number 4, much later, from 1995. So this was 6 years later, same day, 6 years later, and a different person wrote this. And this to say that now all this information has been now registered in a court of law in Verona, Italy, and Lisbon, the capital of Portugal. So, like I said, in the future video, I'll show you my Italian birth certificate also, which is more interesting and colorful with other people. This is just for you to see that I was born where I was, that my father is indeed Benito Albino Mussolini, and that connects to his birth certificate. And then when I have my Italian birth certificate here, which will happen this year for sure, because they're not going to keep the German border closed forever, I'll make sure that I'll have it, and I'll show it to you also. But there we go. Now you've seen it. Have a nice day.
But rest assured, our mission will continue. There is nothing new in this world, except the history you do not know.
The beloved disciple is so important that he's mentioned in the very last lines of the Gospel of John. And that's where his death is mentioned. It seems that he was so central to their belief, and they were so sure that he would not die before Jesus came back, that the writer of the Gospel of John had to reassure them that even though he died before the second coming, it wasn't over. In a sense, the beloved disciple lives.